before the now infamous Roswell incident, the term flying saucer was coined by an experienced American pilot named Kenneth Arnold. High above the snow-covered peaks of Mount Rainier on June 24, 1947, pilot Kenneth Arnold, flying over the majestic Washington State mountain range, spotted what he claimed to be 9 extremely unique-looking objects. These mysterious objects, he said, were flying like a saucer would, forming a V-shape and constructed from what looked like a shiny or metallic material and possibly glowed a bright blue-white color. In fact, the exact quote was, "A saucer if you skip it across water." But throughout the newspaper reports, the original description was mistakenly misconstrued to convey these mysterious objects were shaped like saucers, leading to the popularization of the now infamous term flying saucer. Interestingly, these sightings occurred just a mere 2 weeks before the now legendary Roswell incident on July 8, 1947 in the barren high plains in New Mexico, United States. Recounting speeds of a minimum of 1,930 kilometers an hour or 1,200 miles per hour, Arnold claimed he initially thought what he had seen were test flights of military aircraft, but the military later said they had not been running any aircraft exercises during the time of the incident. Making international headlines and triggering hundreds of similar accounts right after the incident, the term flying saucer was forever imprinted onto the collective consciousness of humans all across the world. The erratic movement which Arnold was trying to get across in his original quote of "a saucer if you skip it across water" is something that has become synonymous with UFO descriptions. They are essentially bending or breaking the known laws of reality that govern our universe. What Kenneth Arnold claimed to witness that day high above the mountains of Washington State to this day seemed to be a phenomenon that countless people all over the earth have reported witnessing, even before that fateful day in June 1947. Approximately 10 p.m. in the evening, local respected business owner Dan Wilmot and his wife claimed to have witnessed a large glowing object traveling at a very high rate of speed, flying from the southeast heading in a northwesterly direction, an estimated 20 to 25 feet across and speeding through the sky at approximately 400 to 500 miles per hour, making absolutely no sound. No detailed flying disc are revealed. Roswell hardware man and wife report disc seen. The intelligence office of the 509th Bombardment Group at Roswell Army Airfield announced at noon today that the field has come into possession of a flying saucer. According to the information released by the department over authority of Major J.A. Marcel, intelligence officer, the disc was recovered on a ranch in the Roswell vicinity after an unidentified rancher had notified Sheriff G.O. Wilcox here that he had found the instrument on his premises. Major Marcel and a detail from his department went to the ranch and recovered the disc, it was stated. After the intelligence officer here had inspected the instrument, it was flown to higher headquarters. The intelligence office stated that no details of the saucer's construction or its appearance had been revealed. Mr. and Mrs. Dan Wilmot apparently were the only persons in Roswell who seen what they thought was a flying disc. They were sitting on their porch at 105 South Pennsylvania last Wednesday night at about 10 o'clock when a large glowing object zoomed out of the sky from the southeast, going in a northwesterly direction at a high rate of speed. Wilmot called Mrs. Wilmot's attention to it, and both ran down to the yard to watch. It was in slight less than a minute, perhaps 40 or 50 seconds, Wilmot estimated. Wilmot said that it appeared to him to be about 1,500 feet high and going fast, and estimated between 400 and 500 miles per hour. In appearance, it looked oval in shape, like two inverted saucers, face mouth to mouth, or like two old-type wash bowls placed together in the same fashion. The entire body glowed as though light were showing through from the inside, though not like it would be if a light were merely underneath. From where he stood, Wilmot said that the object looked to be about 5 feet in size, and making allowance for the distance it was from town, he figured that it must have been 15 to 20 feet in diameter, though this was just a guess. Wilmot said that he heard no sound, but that Mrs. Wilmot said she heard a swishing sound for a very short time. The object came into view from the southeast and disappeared over the treetops in the general vicinity of 6 Mile Hill. Wilmot, who was one of the most respected and reliable citizens in town, kept the story to himself, hoping that someone else would come out and tell about having seen one, but finally today deciding that he would go ahead and tell about it. The announcement that the Roswell Army Air Force was in possession of one came only a few minutes after he decided to release the details of what he had seen. An examination by the Army revealed last night that mysterious objects found on a lonely New Mexico ranch was a harmless high-altitude weather balloon, not a grounded flying disc. Excitement was high until Brigadier General Roger M. Ramey, commander of the 8th Air Forces with headquarters here, cleared up the mystery. The bundle of tinfoil, broken wood beams, and rubber remnants of a balloon were sent here yesterday by Army Air Transport in the wake of reports that it was a flying disc. But the general said the objects were the crushed remains of a ray wind target used to determine the direction and velocity of winds at high altitudes. Warrant Officer Irvin Newton, forecaster at the Army Air Force's weather station here, said, "We use them because they go much higher than the eye can see." The weather balloon was found several days ago near the center of New Mexico by rancher W.W. Bazell. He said he didn't think much about it until he went into Corona, New Mexico last Saturday and heard the flying disc reports. He returned to his ranch 85 miles northwest of Roswell and recovered the wreckage of the balloon, which he had placed under some brush. Then Brazel hurried back to Roswell, where he reported his find to the sheriff's office. The sheriff called the Roswell airfield, and Major Jesse A. Marcel, 509th Bomb Group Intelligence Officer, was assigned to the case. Colonel William H. Blanchard, commanding officer of the bomb group, reported the find to General Ramey, and the object was flown immediately to the Army airfield here. Ramey went on the air last night to announce the New Mexico discovery was not a flying disc. Newton said that when rigged up, the instrument looks like a 6-pointed star, is silvery in appearance, and rises in the air like a kite. In Roswell, the discovery set off a flurry of excitement. Sheriff George Wilcox's telephone lines were jammed. 3 calls came from England, one of them from the London Daily Mail, he said. A public relations officer said the balloon was in his office and it will probably stay right there. Newton, who made the examination, said some 80 weather stations in the US were using that type of balloon and that could have come from any of them. He said he had sent up identical balloons during the invasion of Okinawa to determine ballistics information for heavy guns. July 9th, 1947. W.W. Brazel, 48, Lincoln County rancher, living 30 miles south of Corona, today told his story of finding what the Army at first described as a flying disc, but the publicity which attended his find caused him to add that if he had ever found anything else short of a bomb, he wasn't sure if he was going to say anything about it. Brazel was brought here late yesterday by W.E. Whitmore of radio station KGFL, had his picture taken, and gave an interview to the Record and Jason Kellahan, sent here from the Albuquerque Bureau of the Associated Press to cover the story. The picture he posed for was sent out over AP telephoto wire sending machine, specially set up for the Record office by R.D. Adair, AP wire chief, sent here from Albuquerque for the sole purpose of getting out his picture and that of Sheriff George Wilcox, to whom Brazel originally gave the information of his find. Brazel related that on June 14th, he and an 8-year-old son Vernon were about 7 or 8 miles from the ranch house of the J.B. Foster Ranch, which he operates, when they came upon a large area of bright wreckage made up of rubber strips, tinfoil, and rather tough paper and sticks. At the time, Brazel was in a hurry to get his rounds made and did not pay much attention to it, but he did remark about what he had seen, and on July 4th, he, his wife Vernon, and the daughter Betty, age 14, went back to the spot and gathered up quite a bit of the debris. The next day, he first heard about the flying discs, and he wondered if he had found what might be the remnants of one of these. Monday, he came to town to sell some wool, and while here, he went to see Sheriff George Wilcox and whispered kinda confidential-like that he might have found a flying disc. Wilcox got in touch with the Roswell Army Airfield, and Major Jesse A. Marcel and a man in plain clothes accompanied him home, where they picked up the rest of the pieces of the disc and went to his home to try to reconstruct it. According to Brazel, they simply could not reconstruct it at all. They tried to make a kite out of it, but could not do that and could not find any way to put it back together so that it could fit. Then Major Marcel brought it to Roswell, and that was the last he heard of it until the story broke that he had found a flying disc. Brazel said that he did not see it fall from the sky and did not see it before it was torn up, so he did not know the size or shape it might have been, but he thought it might have been about as large as a tabletop. The balloon which he held up, if that was how it worked, must have been about 12 feet long. He felt measuring the distance by the size of the room in which he sat. The rubber was smoky gray in color and scattered over an area of about 200 yards in diameter. When the debris was gathered up, the tinfoil, paper, tape, and sticks made a bundle about 3 feet long, or 7 or 8 inches thick, while the rubber made a bundle about 18 to 20 inches long and about 8 inches thick. In all, he estimated the entire lot would have weighed maybe 5 pounds. There was no sign of any metal in the area which may have been used for an engine, and no sign of any propellers of any kind, although at least one paper fin had been glued onto some of the tinfoil. There were no words to be found anywhere on the instrument, although there were letters on some of the parts. Considerable Scotch tape and some tape with flowers printed upon it had been used in the construction. No strings or wire were to be found, but there were some eyelets in the paper to indicate that some of the attachments may have been used. Brazel said that he had previously found 2 weather observation balloons on the ranch, but that what he found this time did not in any way resemble either of these. Brazel was quoted saying, "I am sure that what I found was not any weather observation balloon," he said. "But if I find anything else besides a bomb, they are going to have a hard time getting me to say anything about it." More than ever, the UFOs witnessed and reported at any time in recorded history. Are these craft the fancies of a collective consciousness? Our imaginations ran wild. Are these mysterious objects top secret government testing? Who pilots these objects? What is the true purpose behind them? Will humanity be able to ever answer these questions? Or is this phenomenon something beyond our current level of comprehension and understanding?